Well, let's now bring in Mansour Shruman. He's a Palestinian journalist and humanitarian who has witnessed the war firsthand in both Rafah and Khan Younis. Mansour, you were just telling me you do still have some of your colleagues in Khan Younis. What have you been hearing from them?
Yes, last night I think was one of the worst nights for the people in the southern region in Gaza Strip, especially in Khan Younis. Hundreds of thousands of people left the eastern side of Khan Younis and within minutes had to relocate to the western side. You're talking about people who had to restart their lives from scratch.
Multiple
times. And when they went back to their homes in the eastern side of Khan Younis, they had to get the furniture out of the rubble, rebuild tents, try to make makeshift homes. And they stayed there for a few weeks, and then they had to relocate again, leaving everything behind that they've gathered and they've restarted their lives in, and moved back within minutes, back to the east, to the western side of Khan Younis, back to Al-Mawasi area. People last night were killed, injured, living on the streets, It was extremely difficult when getting in touch with the people on the ground there. The humanitarian efforts are almost stopped. It's very difficult to get stuff inside, whether it be cash, liquidity, or goods. Not only in the south, Anastasia, but also in the north. In the north, for the 75th day in the row, no vegetables, no fruits, no frozen goods are allowed to get in. The desalination plants in the north have stopped working because there is no fuel allowed to get into the north. Journalists, you've seen the tent of the journalist that has been bombed. Right now, over 163 journalists have been killed and targeted, many with their families. I think these are all pressure tactics by the Israelis on the Palestinians as they go forward with their negotiations.
You speak about pressure tactics. I mean, you
Yes.
and your family yourselves were subject to evacuation orders when you were in Gaza. Can you perhaps explain for some of our viewers how that works? I know there have been leaflets dropped at times. Sometimes they've been issued over telecommunications networks, which are obviously also not terribly reliable. How much time are people ordinarily given to flee? I mean, this time we were hearing it was less than an hour.
Yeah, I think this time there were no leaflets. It was just a communication on Facebook asking people to leave as soon as possible from one area to another. And people who didn't have internet, didn't have phone connections, I'm sure were surprised and shocked. And that's why many people are still trapped there with hundreds still calling for help. Normally what happens is leaflets are dropped, messages are sent, statements are issued on different social media networks. Sometimes it comes within minutes, sometimes within hours. The land invasion or the bombing starts from the air. It's very hectic, it's very, very stressful. And you don't know what's going to happen.
And you're given no indication of when the actual offensive will begin?
No indication. You never know if it's even going to happen or not. And they sometimes refer to zone numbers, and people in Gaza don't understand what these zone numbers refer to at times.
In terms of the situation right now in Khan Younis, you talked about people calling for help. We're hearing that civil defense received something like 1,700 calls. What is the capacity of civil defense there now? Are they even able to field that many calls?
No. When I was in Khan Younis, there was one civil defense unit that was active beside Nasser Hospital. However, that was bombed to the ground and evacuated. They built a temporary one in Al-Mawasi, in the western side of Khan Younis. But even that is running out of fuel. That doesn't have a lot of vehicles that is functioning, and them trying to get to help the people in the eastern side of Khan Younis is also a suicide mission for these civil defense workers. So yes, they're getting these calls, but I think that it's people on the ground trying to help each other rather than the civil defense actually attending to them.
Well, we are also now hearing that something like 83% of the entire Gaza Strip is under these evacuation orders. In terms of people being told to flee, how are people actually deciding where to go, especially given what we've also been seeing in Al-Mawasi over the previous days and weeks?
So, as Hind said, not even Al-Mawasi itself is all totally safe. There are still big parts that have been bombed by the Israelis. So there is some parts in Al-Mawasi. There are some parts in the central region around Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital. There are also some parts in the north in Gaza City and in Jabalia that are safe. But I think even it's less than, it's more than 83%, because the amount of places that people are able to set up tents and have fresh water to attend to is much less than that. Fresh water is extremely important for people to set up camps in.
Of course, and we're seeing everything get increasingly crowded. Mansour Shuman, thank you for joining us again on the Al Jazeera News Hour.
Thank you.